Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.
Thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. As usual, I look for fascinating people around the world who've got interesting, engaging, inspirational stories to share with us. And today, I found us another fascinating, inspiring guest. He lives in Kenya, and his name is Kennedy Kiarie, and he is a video editor and a transcriber and all of the other gifts and talents that he has, he will share with us as we continue with this interview. Welcome to Conversations with Jennylyn, Kennedy.
Thank you, Jenny.
I am very grateful that you can afford the time because I know it's late at night in Kenya.
Yeah. It's around 9 p.m. right now in Kenya. Yeah.
So, Kennedy, you and I met, and we had a brief conversation during that meeting that I decided it would be a great idea to bring awareness to some of what is happening in your country that some people in the world may be oblivious to, because I am one of those people. And when you shared what you did with me, I was astounded that anything like that could be happening in today's world. And so I thought it would be a good idea to have you share some of that with my guests.
Thank you, Jenny.
So tell us, Kennedy, what it's like for people in your country during this COVID. We'll start there.
Well, first of all, basically, COVID hasn't really affected most of the people in our country. We are grateful. So what happens is people around our country actually they don't wear masks. You know, they believe that COVID can't affect blacks. That's what they're calling it. And which is not a good thing, because I think COVID, it's not whatever. Okay, basically they're trying to put it as if COVID it's a white thing, of which it's not. You know, so they're like, our immunity is top notch. You know, yeah. And as I was telling you the other day, we Africans also never believed that cancer can actually affect Africans, or basically they just believe that cancer was only meant for the rich guys, white people, you know, yeah, which is so sad. Until when, some people were actually affected with it. So that's when they started believing that cancer can actually kill you.
That is what I found so fascinating, which is why I wanted to do this interview with you. How could you believe in this day and age that certain diseases are only for a certain ethnic group? I mean, it blows my mind. Well, here's the next question then. Haven't they seen people in your country, in the various tribes? Haven't they had people suffering from cancer and the same diseases they don't believe they can get?
Well, what happened is, after a while, now we started having politicians dying from cancer. We even had people from we call them the ghetto, from the slums. They actually also started dying from cancer. So that's when they actually believed that cancer can affect everyone. But before then, they just knew that cancer was a white thing. Cancer only affected the rich, you know. So they just believe that if at all you're from the slums, if at all actually you're below, can we call it below poverty line, you can't be affected, you know. Yeah.
So they believe that unless you're a lesser socioeconomic population, certain diseases will affect them because they're poor. But the upper echelon are somehow immune to these diseases.
Yep.
That's insanity. Okay, so I'm wondering if there's some psychology in this then. If you haven't had a lot of COVID in your country because they don't believe it's a disease that can affect the natives of your country, then is there some psychology in this? Because if you don't believe in it, then you wouldn't take the necessary precautions to protect yourself. So if the disease is not ravaging the people there, then could you explain why you think a lot of people haven't had it?
Well, what happens is to them, what they I think what they're convincing themselves is there's no COVID. So they start arguing that now they start questioning each other. Has anyone from your family, from maybe your estate been affected with COVID? So everyone's like, no. So now they start arguing that ever since COVID started, we've not had any accidents. We've not had the government or anyone announcing that we have 2 people who died from malaria. We have 2 people who died from AIDS. We had, so they're trying to put it as if now the government is compiling. As in, if at all you die from malaria, the government will just say that you died from COVID. So that's the argument. So they're basing the argument on we no longer have natural deaths. So the numbers that we have, they're trying to say that all the numbers that we have been recorded that people died from COVID, they're all coming from cooked numbers. Yeah.
So this is so, I'm just trying to attach no judgments, but just to wrap my head around the concept and how they perceive things there. Perception is usually reality for people.
Yeah.
It may not be the reality, but it will be the reality of the person experiencing the particular situation and their beliefs. So it's difficult then to gauge how the country has been affected by COVID because of their beliefs structure.
Yeah.
So you shared some stuff with me that has bothered me and continues to bother me, that it's happening in today's world, in today's age. And I thought it would be a great idea to bring it to this platform to hopefully bring awareness so that more people in the world, like myself, who care about other people, might be able to do something to help. And it's what you shared about what is happening to young women and men in your country. So, is it safe for us to talk about some of that, or why don't you approach it from the safe place in terms of your protection?
Well, I think, basically it's something that it's out there. So I think we can just have a conversation around it. And basically, I don't know if it's happening in your country, but we've had some activists who've been trying to raise awareness on the fact that basically they're just questioning this. Why is it that women have to pay for their sanitary pads, whereas men, if you visit the public hospitals, you'll get the government is providing condoms for free. So between the sanitary pads and the condoms, they're trying to weigh and ask, as in, why should you be given the condoms for free and not the sanitary pads? I don't know if you're having the same problem in your country.
So when a person goes to the hospital, if it's a male, he's given free condoms.
Yep.
But if a woman is in the hospital and she needs feminine products like pads or tampons, she has to pay for it.
You have to pay for it. So you can imagine you have free sex, but you have to pay for when you're experiencing your menstrual, So it doesn't make a lot of sense, because it makes you ask yourself a lot of questions, as in, what are you prioritizing? Because it's not like for ladies to experience the menstrual cycle every end month. It's not something that happens based on their choice. It's something that happens naturally. But for us, for men, basically, we choose when to have sex, to have intercourse and everything. So you just can't say that I think they're having the priorities are not, they're not right to me.
Well, they're not right. And so please correct me if I'm wrong, and I mean no disrespect by anything I say. I'm someone who doesn't judge, and I respect people's beliefs.
Yeah.
I know from my own personal experiences that some of what I experience is difficult for people to understand. So that allows me to be compassionate. So I have gathered over the years from my own research that women are really sort of not disrespected, but they are not given a lot of respect. And it feels like a lot of different parts of Africa are male dominated.
Yeah.
And women are treated like things, like they're raped and people get away with it.
Yeah.
And I've even heard of one culture where they perform some surgical practices on women's privates, like women's vaginas, to prevent them getting married. And I don't understand all of the details around why that is done. But could you shed some light on this? And does it happen in Kenya?
Well, okay, when we talk about women, actually, there are things that happen and makes you ask yourself, why was she treated like that? So the other day I told you that we have women who are actually raped, and and they actually know who raped the woman, so he's the perpetrator. So but what happens is the family decides to settle the issue out of court. So what happens is the guy will just come, pay some, he'll be asked by the council of elders and everything. He'll be told to maybe pay like 6 goats or 6 cows, then that issue will be okay. So one, you ask yourself, what will happen to that woman, that lady, that girl, when she's maybe going to shop or something, and then she sees the guy who raped her or what. So what kind of impact will that have on her mental health? That's one. Two, this guy that just paid like 6 goats and got away with rape, don't you think that he'll just raise some more goats, then continue doing the same thing, simply because he knows, if I rape, I'll just give them 6 goats, then walk away. So
Are you serious?
yeah, you can just, it's something that I even had I had a link that I wanted to share with you. Maybe you can look it up on YouTube later. Yeah, but actually it's something that's happening. So you ask yourself why.
And how long has this gone on? And don't you have legislators that are trying to do and control these types of situations and to stop them from happening? Because it's something like abuse of women. And how could a woman who's experienced this have any normalcy in her life? Because when you've been violated like that, you grow to believe that that's what you deserve and that's all you should be. And so then you allow more people to come and treat you that way.
Yeah. Well, what happens is we have the system. The systems are there. The courts are there to help you. But the problem is us as the community, as the clan, as the tribe. So what happens is they are more focused on settling things internally, and they avoid involving the government and everything. So this is something that it is basically it all depends with who is heading the family. If at all your father, let me say, if at all the father isn't as educated as, he's still stuck in the old ways. So he'll be like, no, if this happens, I know what happens is we call the council of elders, discuss about it, then, that now that's the problem. But we have the systems, the police are always there, they can always assist with such issues, and but the system, what happens is the problem is the families, the clans, the elders. Now that's the problem.
And sometimes when these women are violated, I'm sure they get pregnant.
Yeah.
What do
And
they
also
do with those? Pardon?
they also get infected with
AIDS,
AIDS.
herpes.
Herpes. They
So
also
social
get
diseases.
gonorrhea, but those council of elders actually don't think, they really don't think about one, those kind of infections, what will happen to the woman, Two, they don't think of the impact that situation will cause on her mental health. They actually don't think about that. All they think is we have to take the goats and continue living, and then the girl or the woman or they will just be told just go back and life goes on. So yeah.
This sounds so barbaric. I mean, we're living in a very advanced world. We're living in a world where I am in my study. You are somewhere in Africa, in Kenya.
Yeah.
And we are having a clear conversation. I have a beautiful picture of you. Are you trying to tell me your country is advanced technologically, but then it sounds like something is stuck? Because that should not be happening in today's world to any woman.
The problem, I think, is we actually think either 46 or 47 tribes in Kenya. So we have people living in the rural areas where they don't have a lot of modernization and everything. So they're still stuck in the old cultural ways. They still practice the old, So no, I think that's the big, because I'm in Nairobi, and you find that I do a lot of things which are against the way we used to live in the old ways, But we still have communities in Kenya where some still wear, they actually don't wear clothes. They still wear their traditional clothes, which is not bad, Maybe they want to retain their culture. But the way of governing is still stuck in the old ways. They really don't want to make changes in the way of the cultural beliefs. Yeah.
So you live in Nairobi. Do you think that this goes on in the big cities like Nairobi, or is it these practices and these violations of women only happening? And it's happening to men too, right? People are just violating each other. So do you think it's only happening in the rural parts of the country, or is it also prevalent in the big cities?
I think it also happens in the big cities, but now what happens in the maybe in Nairobi? What happens in Nairobi? Something that I'm very sure of is we're now being affected by the toxic masculinity. So you find that it's not only women that are being raped, but also men get raped. But the problem is with men, they won't talk about it simply because you don't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It will affect your masculinity and everything. So you'll just have to hide it. You won't even go to the hospital because you also don't want to talk. You clearly don't want to talk to anyone about it. Yeah.
I think that happens here too. I think that happens in the Western world as well. So, Kennedy, what do you think? Because you're clearly aware of this. And when I spoke with you the very first time, it was my distinct impression of you that this is something that was really raw in you, and you want this to stop. And I love that quality because it means that you care about other people, and I'm also like you. I'm an empath. So what do you, Kennedy, think needs to be done to create some change so that no one is being violated? Let's admit it, people will always be violated, but it sounds like volumes are being violated. And I always believe in the concept of, if you have to make 1,000 steps, you have to start by making one. And then you keep on going and you can eventually make your 1,000 steps. So what ideas does Kennedy have in mind that he thinks, if these are implemented, will create a change?
Well, one, I think we need, basically it's all about empowering. What we have to empower the youths. That is one, because we still have cases of early marriages in certain communities, you know. So with early marriages, it means they're still stuck in the old ways. So once someone gets married at the age of 12, 13, that's the end of her, you know. So she'll be a housewife for the rest of her life. So you'll never know all her capability. Maybe she should be a pilot, a doctor, you know, a good nurse, a teacher. But the fact that she got married at the age of 12, 13, that will never happen, because now she has to be a wife, you know.
Wait, let me
So
stop you. You're very soft, so I'm having a difficult time hearing all that you're saying. Are you saying that women get married at 13 years old?
yeah, people. In fact, what happens is once they say that when the family is when poverty strikes, the father or the head of the family decides to, it's like, I think we'll have to wed Jenny. She's old enough, so they'll have to give you, you know, take you to, they find a man who will marry you, get some few goats, then you'll be, you know, you go. Then the family will
Oh
now,
my God.
yeah, yeah,
The father will marry the daughter off in exchange for goats,
yes,
just so they could have one meal.
yeah.
I hope he has a lot of daughters. Otherwise,
That,
they'll starve. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
It's so difficult to understand other cultures. So, what happens when all the daughters are married?
Well, what happens is you'll find that for one girl, maybe the father will get like 100 cows. So assuming that the father has like 5 girls, those are like 500 cows, assuming he loves to sell them all or something, you know, because that's clearly selling, you know. So the good thing is that once you have the 100 cows, they'll continue reproducing and everything. So at some point you won't need, even if you no longer have girls to give out or something, you now have the cows. So that's the logic.
And this is legal?
Yeah, actually it's been, yeah, they just do it.
Is
I
this
think
only prevalent in tribes, or is this is this like a national thing? Like
no,
it's
it's not a
okay.
national. It's not a
Oh,
national thing. Yeah, it's actually it's basically it's just in some few tribes, not all the tribes, but some few tribes.
how has this affected the country overall, from your perspective and your observation?
Actually, development-wise, I'd say we have a lot of regions that have not yet developed their full, full potential of everything, because they're actually going in circles, because they're actually not creating, the fact that you're not empowering the youth, you're actually not helping each other. You're not moving. Because you're still stuck in the old ways. But if you decide to change your ways of living, I think things will actually change for the communities and everything. Yeah.
And the people that commit these heinous crimes, are they held accountable?
Not really. Not really. I've never seen anyone not really. I've never seen that.
So I would imagine women there feel helpless and like they have no power. Like, I'm just a vessel here. Anybody come do what they want, because if anything is done to violate me, I may as well keep it to myself, because if I speak up, it would probably alienate me. And I know that women feel that way in this part of the world. Like, if they're violated, they're afraid to speak up, because oftentimes it's difficult to prove it. And there are women who make false claims against men. So when a woman is truly violated, it's difficult to determine if she was or not, because it's always your word against my word. So in a culture where the girl or the person, like not just woman, but because you said this happens to men too. So when someone is violated, they won't speak up because they know nothing will be done. And because the violators are also aware of this fact, then they feel entitled and free to do whatever the heck they want to whomever they want to.
Yeah.
So when is someone going to do something to stop this?
I think the problem comes from, okay, let me ask you, I can see you have some beautiful earrings. Yeah. So let's assume you
Some
bought them
beautiful what?
earrings. You have some beautiful
Yes,
earrings.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. So let's assume you bought the earrings at maybe 6,000 sterling. Yeah. So you worked for the money and paid for them, right?
Yes.
So if you decide to just buy them and then wear them for like 2 days, then throw them away, or maybe, you know, break them, nobody will ask you because it's your money, right? So once you've paid for that, that's the kind of entitlement some men feel. Once you've paid for, you pay for the dowry and everything. So they believe that they can now treat you the way they want to treat you. You know, that's where domestic violence comes in. Right?
I am stunned.
Yeah.
And your government has no laws in place or no accountable standards for this.
What happens? The problem comes with women don't speak up. Now that's the problem, you know. What happens is they only report these issues when it's too late. Right? Now that's where
why do you think they don't speak up? Why? What do you think prevents them from speaking up?
I think it's because of, okay, let me give you an example then. So you come from a poor family, and I come from, let's say, a well-off family. So when I come give you the dowry, and basically if at all I change your lifestyle, maybe where from your family you never used to have like 3 meals a day, you used to have like 1 meal, 2 meals. And then when you come over to my place, you now have like 4 meals. So they're like, will I start complaining and then go back to, you know, or will I just have to maintain and get used to all these violations and everything and continue living the happy life that I'm living? So when they do that, the men continue feeling entitled, right? To a point, there was this case in, I can't remember which year, but there was this guy that after, yeah, he had his wife where they couldn't have babies, and I think the woman, she was, what do we call it? When a woman can't have children, what do you call that?
If she can't have children?
Yeah.
Some people say she's sterile. You know, they have different unpleasant adjectives that they use. But I know, yes, I know what you mean. There are very many terms that they use to describe women who can't have children. But I just say she's, some people think she's infertile. I don't know. I don't know the word you're looking for, but I don't want to say some of the words that are coming to mind because I have many friends who can't have children.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be politically correct here, but I think I get what you're saying.
So due to that, the man felt that it's right to go buy a sword from the shop, came back home and chopped off the hands of the woman.
What? Stop. Yeah. Stop. Yeah. This man is married to a woman. Yeah. And I guess the word I hear used in Africa for women who can't have children is barren, right?
Yes.
Is that the word you're looking for?
That's the word I'm looking for.
Okay, yeah. So the woman is barren. His wife is barren. So he goes out and he buys a tool and comes home and chops his wife's arm off because she can't have a child. Yeah. But how is he so sure it's her fault? Because there's times when a woman can't have a child and it's because of the man.
Yes, now that's the problem. So he went out, had some few pints of beer, came back home and decided that's the best thing. That's the right thing to do.
And how was this man held accountable?
Actually, after that, now at least the man was arrested. Now that's a good thing. The man was arrested.
They arrested him.
Yeah, but do you know that won't solve the issue because the woman now she won't be able to use her hands for the rest of her life.
He cut both of her hands off?
Yeah.
This is heinous. My goodness, what goes on in the minds of some people? How could anyone do that to another human?
It's not right.
So this must be difficult for you. Do you have sisters, Kennedy?
Yeah, I have a sister. Yeah.
And you have a mother.
And I have a mother.
And I'm sure, based on what I'm getting from you, even if you had neither of those two, this would be something that would bother you.
Yeah.
Because it's beyond, it's just being human. It's watching what's being done to another human.
Yeah.
Kennedy, we've run out of our 30 minutes, but I'm going to go over a little bit because I feel that I was led to do this interview because we need to look at the world, as one unit, and look at humans as one, and not all of the segregations and the borders that we put up as humans. Like, you're in Africa, I'm an American, you are this and you're that, and you're a Hindu and you're a Christian. We are all God's children.
Yeah.
And the reason I wanted to do this segment is because I think that the world needs to be aware, those who aren't, that can help you guys to create some change, to protect mankind, that hopefully this will cross the desk of someone who can help these people. Because this should not be happening at this time. It should not. And so I hate it when any human is being violated and abused. And God has showed me that there are many ways you can abuse people. Some of it is not visible.
Yeah.
But I know because I experience it. So violation of any type is not okay. So before I wrap this interview up, what does Kennedy want to say to anybody anywhere in the world watching this segment?
Well, all I can say is if there's anyone who can help in empowering the young women that we have in Kenya, in the rural areas, it will be great, because educating them will help them a lot. Because it's not, when you're married at the age of 13, at the age of 15, there's a lot that you don't get to experience. You'll never know what you're talented in. You'll never know what your vocation is. So if there's anyone who can maybe help in educating our communities and changing their ways, it's not like we want them to drop their culture and start living, and just help them change their ways. It will be great. Also, also I'd like to mention, also if we'd get a system where we'd help, a lot of men in Kenya actually, I told you the other time that men don't believe, or Africans don't believe that mental health, basically a man can't be depressed. A man can't suffer from anxiety, such things. So I think we need people to educate us to a point where right now, if right now I tell people around me that I'm depressed, they'll say that that's a white thing.
It's a white disease.
Which is so sad, right? Because you can't say that this disease only affects Africans. This only affects the whites. You can't do that, and that's it has come to a point where they'll only look at your mental health when you go mad. When you go totally mad, that's when they'll be like, no, that guy needs some help. But if you tell them that you're depressed, you're feeling low, blah blah blah, they won't help you. So either you go mad or you commit suicide. So now that's when they'll come rushing and saying, no, he had this, he had that. Yeah.
This is so very sad. And if I'm allowed to leave my 2 cents, what I would like to say to the African government is you need to pass some kind of legislature, some law that prevents women from getting married before they're probably 18 or 19, because then she's starting to become a woman. Anything younger than that in most cases is a child. And it's very sad that they're allowed to get married at that tender age. Kennedy, thank you. It was very brave of you to share this. People need to be aware because somewhere out there is someone who can help these humans. I don't look at it as an African or a Chinese or an Indian. I see it as one of God's children. I see us as God's children. And so I'm hoping that this segment will cross the desk of someone that can help in some way. And that's why I do this. So, Kennedy, once again, thank you.
Welcome.
And thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. I bring you all types of conversations. And I'm really hoping this conversation will strike a chord in you to help in any little way that you can, because no one in the world deserves to be no one in the world should be violated. It's not okay. This life is given to all of us for God's will to be done. And I am sure God never intended for anybody to violate any of us. So I thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.
Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.